And we are live. For those of you unaware, I'll be reading the FISA memo. Now, as forewarning, I've read, well, essentially is the first page and most of the second page, or not most, but part of the second page. I didn't want to ruin it for myself, so I have watched a couple of or actually, I watched one of Styx's videos on it, so bear with me, if you will, while I go over the boring diatribe and try to dismantle the political speak, as it were. But without further ado, let's get the show on the road, shall we? As you can see here, it opens up with the traditional, just referendum discussing what the purpose of the memo is. But once you get past this first and second part here, it actually gets to the section where it actually mentions the declassified section of this memo. Oh, purpose. This memorandum provides members an update on significant facts relating to the committee's ongoing investigation into the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation. And a majority of their of the ne'er-do-wells therein, I'm quite sure, but I'm sure that'll all come out in the wash in the end. But anyway, regardless, in their use of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, aka FISA, during the 2016 presidential election cycle. Now, bear in mind, President Trump did say that he was getting spied on. However, a lot of people brush it off as hearsay and craziness. But as you will soon see, it may not have been entirely craziness. But as usual, I'll try to maintain at least somewhat attention to the chat. And I do realize that, it's Monday and everybody's just started their work week. So not everybody's in the most festive of moods. But anyway. Our findings are detailed below. One, raise concerns with the legitimacy and legality of certain Department of Justice and FBI interactions with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Corps, or FISC, or FISC, if you prefer it. And two, to represent a troubling breakdown of the legal processes established to protect the American people from abuses related to the FISA process. Although in this particular case, it should be named that it was mainly, certain individuals that didn't fall in line with a certain political climate at the time. Just the fact that it was just the Trump administration that came out to being targeted by this, I find odd, but I'm not going to completely and totally remove the idea that maybe they had gone after others as well. It just so happened that Trump kind of rose to the top of the pile and is the most likely, eventually being the candidate, was the one that they chose to go after. But let's continue. On October 21st, 2016, Department of Justice and FBI sought and received a FISA probable cause order. Essentially would be basically a probable cause for somebody to search your house for whatever reason. It's basically a warrant is what it is. Authorizing electronic surveillance on Carter Page from the FISC. Page is a U.S. citizen who served as a volunteer advisor to the presidential campaign. Sorry. Consistent with requirements under FISA, the application had to be first certified with the director or deputy director of the FBI. Now keep that in mind for later. It then required the approval of the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, or the Senate-confirmed Assistant Attorney General for the National Security Division. Now keep all of that in mind as we begin this second part of this discussion. The FBI and Department of Justice obtained one initial FISA warrant targeting Carter Page and 3 FISA renewals from the FISC, as required by the statute. I'm not going to go through the legal wording of that, but a FISA order on an American citizen must be renewed by the FISC every 90 days or 3 months. And each renewal requires a separate finding of probable cause. So in other words, they can't go after you for the same. They can't get a FISA order under the same pretenses of probable cause. Similar to double jeopardy, you can't be tried for the same crime more than once. But anyway, more on that later. Then Director James Comey signed 3 FISA applications in question on behalf of the FBI. Deputy Director Andrew McCabe signed 1. Then DAG Deputy Attorney General, excuse me, I almost said district. Then acting DAG Donna Bont, probably brutalizing that, and DAG Rod Reisenstein. I don't know, I'm probably brutalizing that one too. But anyway, suing. Each signed one or more FISA applications on behalf of the Department of Justice. Due to the sensitive nature of foreign intelligence activity, FISA submissions, including renewals before FISC, are classified. Makes sense, I suppose. As such, the public's confidence in the integrity of the FISA process depends on the court's ability to hold government to the highest standard. Because, government's not fundamentally flawed or anything. T Clips. How's it going out there? Those of you in the chat, welcome aboard to this wonderful. I'm assuming this is going to be very entertaining for those that are watching, but regardless, it's something I wanted to do because I thought I have to find it fun. So, due to the sensitive nature of foreign intelligence, I already covered that. To the highest standard, yes, because government isn't fundamentally flawed because it's made up of humans whatsoever. I do understand, don't get me wrong, I do understand the purpose of classified information, especially when it comes to sensitive subjects. However, it's something that should always be taken with a grain of salt. Just don't always make the assumption that you can't that a classified file is classified for a legitimate reason. In some cases, it might just simply be covering up a crooked candidate. Hillary. Particularly as it relates to the surveillance of American citizens. However, the FISC's rigor in protecting the rights of Americans, goddamn, even catch on a cold, which is reinforced by 90-day renewals of surveillance orders and necessarily dependent on the government's production to the court of all material and relevant facts. This should include information potentially favorable to the target of the FISA application that is known by the government. That's a whole lot taken. So basically, when they do the 90-day renewal, they have to not only take into account all the negative sides of the information that's being put forward for the FISA order that's being enacted upon this individual. They also have to take the positive sides of this individual as well, which makes a lot of sense. Although it's going to be funny when this goes on. In the case of Carter Page, and I keep in mind Carter Page was working for an advisor for Trump, the government had at least 4 independent opportunities before the FISC to accurately provide an accounting of relevant facts. However, our findings indicate that, as described below, material and relevant information was omitted. Which, in regards to keeping tabs on an individual that's a part of a political party during an election cycle, you would imagine that an individual would want to maintain as close to the line of truth as possible. Unless you're trying to sell snake oil, which more on that in a few seconds here. The dossier compiled by Christopher Steele, the Steele dossier, which turned out to be a whole shitload of just crap that was compiled from not only other agencies, but was made up by Christopher Steele himself. But anyway, that regardless, on behalf of the Democratic National Committee. So the DNC and Hillary Clinton's puppets therein, but moving on. And the Hillary Clinton campaign formed an essential part of the Carter Page FISA application. Steele was a longtime FBI source who was paid over $160,000 by the DNC and Clinton campaign, which, given the recent fact that the DNC is going bankrupt, I can't imagine where they got $160,000 from, but some would say the Clinton Foundation, others would say no, there's no way to fucking prove it because, quite frankly, the money there's no paper trail to follow. Via the law firm Perkins, I can't pronounce that last one, Coie, and research firm Fusion GPS to obtain derogatory information on Donald Trump's ties to Russia. So essentially, Hillary Clinton and the DNC, by extension, paid Steele $160,000 to compile information on Trump in regards to his ties in Russia. Now, keep in mind, Donald Trump owned a very large financial empire, and he had business dealings in Russia. So would him having ties in Russia be all that weird? Waiting for a far left agent to kick your door down for reading this memo? No, I'll just disappear tomorrow. Don't worry about it. let's see here now, moving on. Neither the initial application on October 2016 nor any of the renewals disclose or reference the role of the DNC Clinton campaign or any party campaign in funding Steele's efforts, even though the political origins of Steele's dossier were then known to senior Department of Justice and FBI officials. So, what you're saying, despite all of the media outcry about how this is a nothing burger, there's nothing going on here. Now, Democrat, Republican, right wing, left wing, center, whatever part of the political spectrum you happen to fall on, you can't look me in the eye and tell me that this doesn't look like a whole shitload of shady deals going on. The guy is given $160,000, and none of the files that were established by the Department of Justice and the FBI officials was the changing of $160,000 ever mentioned, or his collusion with the DNC and the Clinton campaign in general, as it so seems. Well, they did say funding. They didn't say. They said the role in the funding. They never specified it was based on, simply, oh, well, they had a hand in it, but we didn't know about the $160,000. That was never fucking mentioned. So, and if this was a mob boss, for example, and $160,000 just poof disappears out of his books, these assholes would be all over it. But since it's the Clinton campaign, we're just gonna brush that one underneath the rug and pretend like it never happened. Yeah, because that's not fucking crooked at all. The initial FISA application notes Steele was working for a named U.S. person, but does not name Fusion DPS and Principal Glenn Simpson. So they were very good about covering their tracks, as it so seems. Don't want any solid ties to anybody, after all, other than the Clintons getting their fucking dicks caught in the bear trap. But that aside, somebody's gonna get Clintoned over this one. I can guarantee it. Glenn Simpson, who was paid by a U.S. law firm, Perkins and Co., representing the DNC, even though it was known by Department of Justice at the time that political actors were involved with the Steele dossier. The application does not mention Steele was ultimately working on behalf of and paid by the DNC and Clinton campaign, or that the FBI had separately authorized payment for Steele for the same information. So he's taking information from somebody, giving it to the DNC, charging them for it, and recycling the information again back to the original. That's a fucking. I can't. Say what you want about the guy, but he made $160,000 off of this. All I do is change fucking the same information through certain channels over and over, and hand over hand. For fuck's sake, dude, this guy's got it made. Let's see here now. The Carter Page FISA application also cited extensively a September 23rd, 2016 Yahoo News article by Michael Isikoff, which focuses on Page's, those goddamn dirty Russians. I know somebody in the chat's going to get pissed off about that one, which focuses on Page's July 2016 trip to Moscow. This article does not corroborate the Steele dossier because it is derived from information leaked by Steele himself to Yahoo. That right there. This. So he takes information, leaks it to Yahoo News, and then in turn he uses that information to cite in his fucking dossier. Holy shit. This is like fucking CNN citing CNN as a news source. I mean, can we do that now? Be like, sir, excuse me, did you murder this man? No, I bore witness. I did not actually physically strangle this man to death. Seems legit. We're going to have to let him go. I realize I went far beyond on that one, but still, the joke had to be made. Come on, the fucking guy took information, fed it to a fucking news site, and then used the information from that news site to put into his dossier as though it was actual fact. I mean, I'll give the guy credit. It's pretty fucking shifty, but it's dumb. And the fact that it wasn't caught just speaks volumes about our fucking legal system. Because it should have come across somebody's desk and be like, wait a minute, hold on. You're using this article that was information that you leaked to them to cite in this dossier. Now, nothing's about this kosher. Of course, then again, in this situation, if you have every, not moral, but political obligation as you see fit to try and harm a political candidate as much as possible, you might just let that one slide across your deck or slide across your desk without having a second look at it. But I don't know. I'm not an FBI agent. The page FISA application incorrectly assesses that Steele did not directly provide information to Yahoo News. So the application said that it didn't when it did. Awesome. Yeah, the justice system is not fucking up here at all. Steele has admitted in British court filings that he met with Yahoo News and several other outlets in September 2016 at the direction of Fusion GPS. At the direction of Fusion GPS, keep that in mind. Perkins Co. was aware of Steele's initial media contacts because they had hosted at least one meeting in Washington, D.C. in 2016 with Steele and Fusion GPS where his matter was discussed. These fucking assholes knew. For fuck's sake. There's no amount of fucking shifting that these people do. No, we had no idea. The company, the Fusion GPS and the law firm were aware of his initial media contracts. And it made no mind to them whatsoever. This is, I don't know what this would be in legal terms, but in layman's terms, this is fucking shady. A long-winded version of listen and believe. You're not wrong. Don't worry. I'm sure I wasn't a CNN that said that we're not allowed to read this, or was that something else they were referring to? Oh, that was WikiLeaks accusing. Or was that Podesta emails? I'm sorry. So many scandals revolving around the Clintons. It's just so hard to keep track of them. Anyway, continuing. I jumped down a little bit too far. Paid by the DNC did the initial FISA application. Steele was written for any use person. Okay, yeah, I didn't jump that far. My bad. Steele was suspended and then terminated as an FBI source for what the FBI defines as the most serious of violations, an unauthorized disclosure to the media of his relationship with the FBI. And on October 30th, it's my birthday, 2016, Mother Jones article by David Korn. Steele should have been terminated for his previous undisclosed contacts with Yahoo and other outlets in September before the page application was submitted to the FISC in October. Okay, so he got terminated in October, after in July and September specifically, leaking information to Yahoo News. That is what should have got him terminated. But no, they waited until October in a Mother Jones article by a different person to pinch this guy's pecker off. The damage had already been done. And not only does it say Yahoo, but it says other outlets as well. So I'm curious as to what other outlets had this information that he had now. CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, BBC, The Guardian. I would really like a compiled list of the fucking sources of the news sites that he had leaked this information to. But regardless, the page of the application was submitted to FISC in October, and then he properly concealed it from and lied to the FBI about these contacts. Shouldn't he be going to jail for this? Just that pure curiosity. I mean, I wanted to send a man to jail, but this seems like a clearly illegal. If not illegal, well, maybe not jail, but he lost his job. Whatever. I can't really say too much on that, I guess. But regardless, they waited until after the first FISA authorization had passed through, and then in October pinched him for it. So once the FISA thing went through, and obviously he leaked information to Yahoo in September of 2016. So therefore, he used the same information in the FISA to get the FISA approved, to get the warrant approved. So they waited until after that whole debacle had been dealt with before they actually gave the. It's fucking all super shady to me. Steele's numerous encounters with the media violated the cardinal rules of source handling, maintaining confidentiality, No fucking shit. And demonstrated that Steele had become a less than reliable source for the FBI. No fucking shit. The guy used his own fucking leaked information as a goddamn source. Are you fucking kidding me? Before and after Steele was terminated as a source, he maintained contact with the Department of Justice via then Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr, a senior Department of Justice official who worked closely with Deputy Attorneys and General Yates and later Rosenstein. Rosenstein being involved in the FISC and the FISA Acts that would have to commence in the months later. As I said, you get 90 days and they have to get reestablished. But still, shortly after the election, the FBI began interviewing Orr, documenting his communications with Steele. For example, in September 2016, Steele admitted to Orr his feelings against then-candidate Trump when Steele said he was desperate that Donald Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being president. So this isn't a mere conspiracy at this point. It's not tinfoil hat saying that this guy doesn't like Trump, which, fair enough, you can dislike the guy all you want. But here's the thing. When you start taking legal action and doing things all shifty like this kind of shit, just because you don't like him, that's when the issue arises. Now your bias is showing. You're supposed to be working with the FBI. You know, the FBI is supposed to maintain some level of unbiased, which is impossible. I'm aware everybody has their biases, but faking information to get something pushed through, to get a FISA pushed through, it's pretty fucking shifty shit. Oh, but wait, this is going to get better. This clear evidence of Steele's bias was recorded by Orr at the time and subsequently in official FBI files, but not reflected in any of the page FISA applications. So not once was the fact that this guy was adamant about Trump not becoming president, not getting elected. None of that seemed pertinent at all. If this was a fucking courtroom, I'd be yelling objection right now. And I don't even know what the fucking means in the law sense. All I know is it is relevant. It's important to the application because the guy, I don't know, might have strong enough feelings to, I don't know, leak information to news sites and then use that information in a dossier to get the FISA pushed through. I don't know. I'm not an FBI agent, like I said before. During the same time period, Orr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS to assist in the cultivation of opposition research on Trump. Oh, let me read that again. During this same time period, Orr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS to assist in the cultivation of opposition research against Trump, which Fusion GPS used Steele. So, I'm seeing a connection. Orr later provided the FBI with all of his wife's opposition research paid for by the DNC and Clinton campaign via Fusion GPS. Orr's relationship with Steele and Fusion GPS was inexplicably concealed from the FISC. That is something that should have been brought up. Just saying. The guys doing this must be working at CNN. I don't know about that. They might be working at Newsweek, though, because that's getting shut down. That's a juicy piece of information I read in an article today that I thought was pretty funny. But that's aside. I don't want to go off on a tangent. I got a big smile on my face, though. According to the head of FBI's Counterintelligence Division, Assistant Director Bill Prystep, I'm brutalizing it, I'm sorry. Corroboration of the Steele dossier was in its infancy at the time of the initial page FISA application. Okay. No, hold on. I'm going to let this one play out. I'm going to give it a chance here. After Steele was terminated, a source validation report conducted by an independent unit within FBI. So is this the FBI's version of internal affairs? Anyway, FBI assessed Steele's reporting as only minimally, corroborated. Yet in early January 2017, Director Comey briefed President-elect Trump on a summary of the Steele dossier, even though it was, according to his June 2017 testimony, salacious and unverified. So while it may have been salacious and unverified, Comey still saw fit to brief President-elect Trump about it. You know, at the time, it would essentially be the most powerful man in the world, some could argue, and you're going to waste his time briefing him about a dossier that you view as salacious and unverified. Okay, because that doesn't raise any red alarms at all whatsoever. No red flags on that one. None. No, zero, none. Moving on. While the FISA application relied on Steele's past record of credible reporting on other unrelated matters, it ignored or concealed his anti-Trump financial and ideological motivations. Oh, you mean the fact that he got $160,000 from the Clinton campaign? Nobody thought about it. Nobody was going to bring that up. With 160 grand, you just tucked it underneath your mattress. I didn't see nothing. Jesus fucking Christ! It's like dealing with a fucking mob. That's unfair. The mob is more honest. Let's see here. Furthermore, Deputy Director McCabe testified before the committee in December 2017 that no surveillance warrant had been sought from the FISC without the Steele dossier information. That doesn't lead to any. Remember what I said? You can't have FISA brought to you for the same reason more than once. Or the information can't be used against you more than once to get a FISA because it has to be renewed every 90 days. So no surveillance warrant would have been sought from the FISC without the Steele dossier information. Does that mean you were leaning on it intentionally, even though you were aware? In December 2017, there's no way to say that you didn't know because Steele had just gotten shit canned in October 30th. This is almost a full 2 months. I don't know what day in December. I'm just gonna say almost a full 2 months after that. There is no way you didn't know. Anyway, moving on. The page FISA application also mentions information regarding fellow Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos. No. I'm not touching that one. But there is no evidence of any cooperation or conspiracy between Page and Papadopoulos. The Papadopoulos information, I can't get over this guy's name. Papadopoulos information triggered the opening of an FBI counterintelligence investigation in late July 2016 by FBI agent Pete Storks. I'm mispronouncing that, right? Storks was reassigned by the special counsel's office to FBI Human Resources for improper text messages with his mistress, FBI attorney Lisa Page. No known relation of Carter Page. Oh, they were doing a little bounce. I got you. Dirty things. Hey, it's an office. Got free time. Copy room's open. And it makes beautiful pictures of people's asses. But anyway, moving on. Where they both demonstrated a clear bias against Trump and in favor of Clinton, whom Storks had also investigated. So that right there raises another fucking red flag. So obviously they had done some form of investigation into Clinton, the Clinton Foundation laundering money. Hey, none of that came up. We're going to ignore that, push underneath the rug. $160,000 he gave to this guy and this dossier that this guy happened to release that was based off of information that he leaked to Yahoo News himself. Nope. That doesn't matter. Trump has ties to Russia. Oh, she better hop on that fucking bandwagon. But wait, he owns a multinational corporation. It kind of makes sense for him to have, you shut your fucking whore mouth. You ain't more talk like that than I'd be sent down to HR and fired. Anyway, role playing aside, that right there raises all kinds of fucking red flags. The Storks Lisa Page text also reflects extensive discussions about the investigation, orchestrating leaks to the media and include a meeting with Deputy Director McCabe to discuss an insurance policy against President Trump's election. That was fucking spicy. I can't believe people are trying to say that there's nothing to this. The guy that had clear fucking biases against Trump was also the same guy that not only was investigating Trump, was also the guy that had a hand in investigating Clinton. Am I saying he specifically did anything wrong? No. I'm just saying whatever happened to in law enforcement. Let's see what I'm looking for. It's a phrase they use. When you're not allowed on conflict of interest. This is fucking just ridiculous to me. And so July 2016. Okay, this is even worse. So July 2016, this is brought up with his improper text messages with his mistress. So aside from the kinky stuff they were talking about, whips and paddles aside, I'm sure they were also talking about a clear bias against Trump in favor of Clinton. So in July 2016, was made aware of this, and in no way, shape, or form will somebody be like, hey, you know, this guy that has clear biases against these two candidates, when he has a clear bias against Trump and he has a clear bias towards Clinton, maybe we shouldn't allow this guy to be doing the investigation. He might have a clear indication of a conflict of interest. No, we're just gonna okay, fine, whatever. I guess hey, I don't have a fucking badge. I'm not an FBI agent. I'm not a fucking homosexual. I mean, well, that's just terrible stereotype. I'm sorry for that joke. But regardless, it's to me, it's something that doesn't need like this shouldn't need to be said. It shouldn't need to be brought up. All of the information that's happened in here between, and obviously Sticks himself did a far more collusive and a far more drawn out discussion about this, and quite frankly, Sticks is far better at articulating himself than I ever will be. That, and he is far more in depth into this than I am. But from what I've read, from looking on the surface, we have a bureau. We have the FBI works for the federal government, Federal Bureau of Investigation, has clearly released, has clearly been investigating Trump and Clinton. To be fair, and Clinton, hello. Also, to be fair, it doesn't seem to have led to the same route that the investigation of Trump has. It does seem to me that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had a clear, at least the people that were involved, had a clear dislike of Trump, a clear reason to go after him, and it's such a clear reason to believe the Steele dossier, which was information based off of a leak that he himself, which by the way is unethical. Not only is it unethical, but it's not a proper fucking source. Citation fucking needed. But regardless, the FISA was enacted on improper information. When Dick Lick Steele got his fucking pee-pee caught in the bear trap, all of the information that had been discovered on Trump through that FISA Act should have been considered null and void because it was obtained through unlawful purposes. The dossier is clearly not a credible source to go to for citing a reason to have a FISA on somebody. Now, you could say that his ties with Russia, but also his ties with Russia has been blatantly and very lazily, not very lazily, very blatantly and very clearly has been a claim that has been turned out to either be not false, but or which I see it as, yes, he does have ties to Russia. Like I said before, multiple times in the stream, he has a fucking corporation, a multinational corporation he's dealing with. Of course, he has fucking ties with Russia. He probably also has ties with fucking China too, and Japan, and North Korea, or not North Korea, but South Korea. I'm talking Iceland. Name a fucking country that deals in trade and business. He probably has a hand in it somewhere. Am I saying that Russia might mean absolutely nothing? Of fucking course not. However, until clear-cut evidence actually comes forward that it is something, I'm going to continue to maintain that the Russia thing in regards to the 2016 election is just basically Hillary Clinton not being, and her fans there to an extent, not being able to deal with the fucking fact that she lost. And this, to me, is just one big fucking debacle. And this memo, I'm going to have to read it over multiple fucking times to gather all the information. I'm going to have to fucking take notes on this because this is going to be a fucking brilliant thing to bring up in conversation in a future fucking date. But regardless, to me, it just seemed like this information is, I'm not going to say as bad as the Podesta emails or the WikiLeaks and the email leaks in general, but this is, especially being 2018, and you know, many of you probably don't realize it now, but the next election cycle is going to start. Like, they're not going to actually, you know, start electing people, nominees, and all that. But a lot of the propaganda and all other horse shit is going to start happening within a year or so. Because that's, you know, you got to start upping your game before people start getting involved. And then you open up the eyes to the quote unquote normies, as it were. Now, the DNC, aside from the fact that they are failing fucking miserably monetary-wise, which I don't understand where the hell they got the damn near 200 grand front for this. Clinton Foundation money laundering? It's extortion? I don't know. Could be. I can't fucking prove anything, so I'm not going to say anything definitively. Like I said, though, it seems fucking shifty. However, in regards to that, what this says to me is this next election cycle is going to be even more hilarious and depressing than the last election cycle, because the Democrats are going to be put in a position where we're going to have to find something, anything, to go against not even just Trump, but Republicans in general. Because at this point, after this memo was released, and especially after all the hysteria from the mainstream media about it's not as bad as you think. Also, we're not biased at all. We're not biased. The fact that we talked about Donald Trump's problems more than Hillary Clinton's, that's irrelevant. We're not biased at all. It's, to me, it's going to be a very difficult situation for these assholes to pull themselves out of this hole. The DNC might as well just fucking give up, call it quits, shut themselves down, and start over as something new without all of this fucking plague attached to them. This short of a memo of equivalent negativity and short of another scandal similar to the Fast and the Furious. I mean, aside from the scandals that happened in the Bush area, but let's be honest here, nobody really liked Bush, but that's a story for another time. Short of those two things, and even the Wikipedia leaks and the Podesta emails, those things have been like a wrecking ball to the DNC. And I hate to break it to the Democrats. You have nobody to blame but the DNC, because had Bernie Sanders been the candidate, you guys wouldn't be dealing with this shit right now. Because Hillary Clinton is, and don't get me wrong, I actually, I'm going to rephrase that. If the DNC had nominated Bernie Sanders, I can't say for certain that Bernie Sanders wouldn't have pulled the same shit. However, also adding on to that, the DNC still had a fucking hand in it. So if the DNC still had a hand in it in the future and Bernie's washed his hand of it, it still would have came up in the future. But regardless, at this rate, our next 3 presidents will be Republicans. We'll see. Depends on what happens. I mean, President Trump himself, he hasn't exceptional. He hasn't had a 10 out of 10 president. He would give him an 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7.9 out of 10. But once again, his presidency is still, it hasn't even reached its half-life at this point. But we also have to keep in mind that, like I said before, as the Republicans haven't reached their half point with this current administration, there's still time for stuff to come out. So, for those of you that are hurrah for 2020, just give it some time. I'm not saying that Donald Trump's up to anything fishy. I'm just maintaining a certain amount of skepticism. I hate that fucking word. I'm trying to think of a better one, and the word escapes me. I could see it. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't fucking say it. But regardless, that just fucking blew my mind. I listened to some of Styx's coverage. I listened to a part of number 1. I am planning on running through numbers all the way from number 1 all the way to number 4, because quite frankly, Styx is just daddy. But don't tell him I said that. You probably think I'm creepy enough as much as I stalk him on Twitter. But yeah, I did say myself that they are handing victories over to the GOP. GDP. All I could think of was the GDP's up too, so I guess I really can't say much on that notion. Yeah, I can't. I didn't say that, and it's not wrong. At this point, they might as well start over under a different label and try to completely remove the fucking Black Plague from them, because otherwise they are going to get fucking shafted. They are going to get shafted worse than a fucking $5 whore on Fifth Avenue. It will be absurd. The campaign will begin the day after midterms. Yeah, I can't say for certain. That's usually how it works, but it doesn't. It usually starts, but it doesn't really start getting crazy until a few months after that. Is when it starts getting into full swing. And you start seeing the full breadth of human stupidity coming out. On the one side, you have the Republicans. Our candidate did nothing. Our candidate shall do nothing wrong. Then you have the Democrat. Then you have on the other side, your candidate shall do everything wrong. But I digress. That's the unfortunate dichotomy of the country that we live in. But you know, like you guys said before, it seems to me that it's going to be a very difficult, maybe not midterm, maybe not, but it's going to be a very difficult election cycle for them as far as the presidential election in 2020. Am I saying, am I predicting right now that Trump's going to get in 2020? If I were to put money on a candidate, it'd be Trump right now. And I'm not a gambling person, so keep that in mind as well. But with that said, imagine a 2-year campaign for a 4-year term. Well, yeah, you waste, fucking 2 years to get 4 years out of it, and then you're gonna have to campaign the second half of your fucking term. Sucks, but unfortunately, I think with that, it distracts the current president from actually maintaining the executive position, because they're so focused on trying to, less so in the second term of our president that gets a second term, because quite frankly, at that point, they're not going to get in again. So what the fuck do they care? But they usually end up like in Obama's case. You had Hillary, and he was trying to bolster her as much as he possibly could, despite the fact that he did everything in her power to make her look like a sinner incarnate when he was in the presidency. But let's not talk about that. We're going to shove that underneath the fucking rug as well. And it seems to me that this whole debacle in of itself is kind of just the icing on the cake after all that happened with the Clinton campaign. Let's not even talk. That's even leaving out all the money laundering done by the Clinton Foundation and the issues that were involved in Haiti. And it's the Clintons have a shit ton of baggage, and they were a terrible fucking candidate. But the DNC had to have that my woman card, and Clinton had to have her way. Fortunately, the DNC has done enough shit to get idiots like L.A. Werewolf. I'm not aware of who that is. That the president after Trump will be an alt-right candidate. I fucking hope not. The alt-right's almost as the alt-right is as cringy in some cases. Not all of the alt-right. The thing about alt-right is I feel like people use it as, especially this is mainly due to mainstream media and people like Jared Holt who paint everybody and their fucking brothers is alt-right. And in reality, the alt-right is a fringe group that very few people actually ascribe themselves to willingly. They end up usually getting pushed into it. You call somebody alt-right enough, they will eventually consider themselves alt-right, because you keep calling me it, so I must be it. And there's an adage going around now that I'm not alt-right yet, but I soon will be. And there's always a discussion on the libertarian and the alt-right pipeline and all this other fucking talk. Realistically, the section of the alt-right that makes up the actual far right, the ethno-state folks, that number really isn't that high. I mean, you do have people who have alt-right sympathies, but then again, I have liberal sympathies as well, and I don't consider myself a fucking liberal. I have alt-right sympathies. Doesn't mean I consider myself alt-right. I think nationalism isn't a bad thing. I think the idea of limited immigration isn't a bad thing. I don't take it to the fucking extent that they do, but I can see where they're coming from. I've been teasing Agnew and calling him gay. How long does it take? Girlfriend, you already know. Wait, what? What? Sorry, my gay came out. I don't worry, I'll shove him back into the closet. No, but the memo in of itself was an interesting read. I'm definitely gonna have to take notes on this because this is gonna be it's like a wonderful spaghetti sauce when you're tasting. It's like, that is delicious. And the tears of the mainstream media about how it isn't a big deal. That's just the salt. That's just the salt in the sauce. But unfortunately, I do realize that some of you guys. Did I see the New York Times video on Eli Mosley? Eli Mosley. Oh, let me Google that real quick. New York Times, Eli Mosley. I was going to end the stream, but I can check this real quick because it was brought. Oh, spelled it wrong. It was brought up, and because I love you guys so much. How our reporter uncovered a lie that propelled an alt-right extremist rise. That's right next to the Super Bowl Amtrak, Ecuador. Okay. All right. Let's see what this has. Let's see what this has. I pictured the phone call going, oops. All right, I'm going to screen share this for you guys in a second here. Stop being gay, computer. You can't say gay. How a reporter uncovered a lie of relevant alt-right extremists. Oh, yeah, fucking cunt. Oh, wait, there we go. Don't mind me, folks. My computer's shit. Unfortunately, I can't listen to this because in order for me to do that, I'd have to unplug my headphones, and if I do that, it's gonna have a massive echo off my fucking microphone. So, oh, it's just an ad. This video includes racial slurs and other offensive language. Well, if it didn't, I would be frankly offended. Come on, computer, stop being a fucking dickbag. Elliot Klein's rising white supremacist leader, but our investigation found that his personal narrative, like much of these groups' messaging, is built upon deception. This coming from the New York Times is you guys shouldn't throw the stones if you live in a glass house. Just saying. If you're a pie, you shouldn't call the kettle black. Covering white supremacists poses difficult challenges for Times journalists. Are we white supremacists? How you define them? Because quite frankly, get a hold of me. I got some all kinds of white supremacist shit I can say for you. Are we simply providing a platform for them to recruit followers and spread it? Holy shit, are they becoming self-aware? Are we casting a sympathetic light on people who should only be condemned? Considering you say that they're white supremacists, I wouldn't call that a sympathetic light. I thought you guys had self-awareness there for a second, but you're quickly reining that horse back. We believe that reporting on racism, anti-Semitism, and the people and groups who espouse them is a crucial responsibility for journalists today. A crucial responsibility for journalists is to get the news to the people, regardless of what side it happens to fall on. Just so you know, so that those college students that were listening to fucking Hitler quotes and were rah about it. Yeah, you should have been on that one too. Despite the fact that they didn't, in their defense, they didn't know it was Hitler that was talking about. They were still all about it. This is the reason why I always view the alt-right exactly like the alt-left. It's fucking two sides of a different coin. Or two sides of the same coin, excuse me. Got the adage wrong. By investigating an emerging leader in a growing extremist movement, we hope to offer Times readers and viewers a deeper understanding of the people and forces behind these groups. Oh, this is going to be fun. I had pictured the phone call going a lot of different ways, but I hadn't quite prepared for this. I can't talk today. I thought he might swear at me and then hang up. So, don't get me wrong. White supremacists, good, bad is fucking subjective. you can be a bad person and still be polite. I mean, maybe he would try to turn the conversation around, attacking me and the credibility of the New York Times. Come on, that isn't hard. Or maybe he would become contrite and emotional and finally answer some real questions. But I never thought he would just deny it. Right. As a reporter and video producer, I've been following Elliot Klein, aka Eli Mosley, for almost 5 months at this point. He played a key role in organizing the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. All right. New York Times, Washington Post, Elliot, and every mainstream media news outlet out there and their brothers. For the billionth time, being at the rally did not equal all right. I could put this in math form, but I'm afraid that the monkey's trying to wedge the square into the circle still won't be able to figure it out. Anyway, as a reporter and video producer, I've been following. Already read that. Where a 32-year-old woman has her play to the palpitations of certain individuals' heartstrings. Yes, she was killed. I get it. Move on. When a white nationalist drove his car through a crowd of protesters, yada, yada, yada. He can't dodge it, ram it. Eli was in his mid-20s from a middle-class suburban home, all right, relatively benign upbringing, it seems, and he had led an unremarkable life up until Charlottesville rally launched him forward within the ranks of the loosely organized white nationalist movement. Eli added, he rose from a self-described anonymous Twitter troll to head of one of the largest groups in the so-called alt-right. Okay, this is going to end in either absolute hilarity or I'm just going to have to be like, oh, God, are you fucking serious? I came to the realization around the inauguration that we must take this from an online activist movement to a real-life activist movement. He told me I decided that was my calling. Okay, once again, relatively benign. After a few phone calls, Eli agreed to give me an on-camera interview at Richard Spencer's apartment in Alexandria, Virginia. See, Richard Spencer does have men that show up at his apartment. Hashtag faggot confirmed. Spencer, 39, plays the big brother to many teenagers and 20-somethings drawn to the alt-right, and his own one-bedroom apartment has become a frat house for white nationalists passing through the D.C. area. Am I the only one getting a really gay vibe out of this? I mean, not to be off topic, but am I the only one that's getting? Yeah, I'm getting some serious homosexual vibes out of that. Did I talk about the Dow dropping 20 points, 1,000 points today? No, I didn't. Did you see how Russia is now being blamed for meddling with our founders to put in the Second Amendment so we could kill each other? Never mind the fact that Russia didn't exist until the 25th of December 1991. That is not true. Russia did exist before then. Maybe not Russia in the traditional sense that we're aware of now, but the large portion of the states had been unified. All right. In regards to April Rain says in regards to G Money in the Bank, folks are saying it was the largest single day drop ever. That 1,100 points equals 4.6%. In 1987, Dow dropped 22% in a single day. Fun times. I'm not here to talk about the Dow. All right, moving on from the homosexuality that's going on in Richard Spencer's apartment. Racial is not included. When I was there, a steady stream of young men and occasional women. Stream of young men and occasional woman. The occasional woman. Just one, singular. Float in and out. I mean, to be fair, to give Richard Spencer some leeway. He's a figurehead in a movement that is relatively small. So him using his own personal domicile as a place for people that want to become part of the movement to congregate and discuss their ideas and viewpoints, however much you happen to disagree with them and dislike them, isn't that hard to believe. But regardless, although Eli lives less than an hour away, he often crashes there on late nights spent drinking and planning the next event. He proudly told me he always gets the couch while others sleep on the floor. I mean, aside from the fact that Hitler, he's still he looks as douchey as ever. I mean, the place doesn't look bad. Why does he have a big fuzzy dick? Never mind. After a short time filming behind the scenes with Eli and his associates, a theme emerged. He kept emphasizing a connection between the military and the alt-right. He said many of his compatriots were veterans of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan who had become disillusioned with the American political system after fighting in unwinnable conflicts. Okay, do you blame them? You send men and women to their fucking to a war that they have no stake in, to defend political allies of politicians at home that sit in their offices behind their desks and dictate to these men and women what and how they should fight and who they should be fighting for. The military, the U.S. military, isn't there to be a police for the fucking world. It's there to defend our borders, and the brothers and sisters in arms should be should be able to come together on the fact that the only reason why they exist and the reason why war is a necessary evil is to defend the borders of the country that they live in, that their ideals are portrayed in. Not to fucking fight a war for some dictator in another fucking area. Not saying that the fucking alt-right is 100% right. I'm just saying, can you blame them? He said many of his compatriots were veterans. In his telling, members of the alt-right were patriotic Americans who had become to their extreme worldview through honorable life experience, not hatred. So you mean to tell me that anti-American propaganda, anti-white propaganda, anti-male propaganda, all of that might have given birth to the alt-right, as it were. Like you guys were fucking warned. Over and over and over again, and you fucking morons wouldn't listen. And now look at the fucking elephant in the room that you have to deal with. And quite frankly, the issue that's going to arise here is that the alt-right has good points. They make valid points based off of scientific and empirical evidence. However, it is to the extent that they take their points that needs to be argued. Not whenever they say 13% of the population commits 63% of the crime, and your immediate knee-jerk reaction is to cry fucking racist. You're not debating them. You're not proving through freedom of speech your ability to have a better, more intelligent, and tangible argument than they are. You're simply shouting a slur at them. It's no different than if a black man comes up to a white man and makes, or a black man comes up to any man, or woman for that matter, and makes the argument about his personal individual life, and the other person's initial argument is, you're a dumb nigger. You're not arguing. You're using a fucking slur to get out of arguing. Maybe because you can't argue. Maybe because you don't want to. Maybe because these facts make you uneasy. Either way, you need to stop that shit. The mainstream media, the SJWs, the fucking liberal arts colleges, college campuses in fucking general, all need to stop this shit. But it's never going to fucking happen, of course. He mentioned that he too had served in Iraq, but when I asked him to elaborate, he waved off the question. It was boring. Boring. I had heard soldiers say they experienced periods of boredom on deployment, but I had never heard anyone sum up time in a war zone that way. I emailed the Army to verify details of his service while I waited to hear back from them. My colleagues and I combed through alt-right podcasts in which he talked about his life. Podcasts relates to the most abhorrent racist vulgarities I had ever heard. Not only did they reveal more about Eli's war story, but they also gave me insight into how he talked before he became media conscious and sanitized his messages. Oops. With me, he insisted that the media unfairly applies labels like white supremacist and neo-Nazi to members of the alt-right to browbeat white people out of identity politics. But in the podcast recorded less than a year ago, he and his friends were unabashedly racist and anti-Semitic. He also spun tales of being embedded with the Iraqi army, of being in the lookout for Chechen snipers, and of killing Muds, a racial slur for Arabs. All right. So a lot of take in there, but all in all, okay. Citation fucking needed. Also, abhorrent racist vulgarities. If muds is one of the most racist things you have ever heard, I suggest you take a walk in Harlem and speak to some of the blacks. They'll say some fucking racist slurs, buddy. Much more media conscious. So you mean when he realized that he was no longer in a room full of his buddies discussing what he thought would be something that would never be viewed, maybe outside of a few people, he changed his tune, like a politician would do. So yeah, there's that. Not saying I agree with it. Quite frankly, he'd have more credibility if he maintained the same amount of mannerisms, the same amount of talking. What's the word I'm looking for? Semantics. Because then he could say, "Hey, look, at least I'm not a lying pussy like the rest of these fucking politicians are." At least he'd have a ground to stand on that one. But regardless, in regards to the boring side of it, it was boring. Maybe, I don't know, novel idea. He has PTSD and doesn't want to discuss it. Always a possibility. But anyway, when I got paperwork back from the Army and the National Guard confirming that he had never deployed, I was not surprised. At the same time, I couldn't believe he would lie so boldly, first to his fellow members of the alt-right and then to a Times reporter on camera. All right, we'll look to see at the bottom here if that was ever confirmed. His parents declined to speak with me, but I called some of his former friends and fellow soldiers, told me Eli had wanted to deploy, but his timing was off. He graduated from high school in 2010, and went straight on to a couple of semesters of college. By the end of 2011, the last troops had left Iraq. That is not accurate. They also confirmed that Eli's unit in the Pennsylvania National Guard did not deploy anywhere else, which, by the way, National Guard is not supposed to deploy offshores anywhere else during the roughly 6 years he served, and neither did he. Okay, going to the chat here. Still nobody's talking about Turkey attacking the Kurds. We've been fighting off ISIS in Syria. Now it seems Russia's taking Turkey's side. What a fucking mess. The alt-right is wrong about race realism. Depends on the definition of race realism. If you're dealing with averages, they're not necessarily incorrect. They're just incorrect in the belief that an average is an undefinable truth. Once again, it's a fucking average. All right, so as it seems, it doesn't seem like he actually went overseas. Okay, fair enough. Talked to the Times security consultant who helped me outline a contingency plan, but in the end, I didn't have to worry because he said no to another on-camera interview. Didn't I have enough material by now, he asked. So I picked up the phone and called him. After informing him that I was recording the call, I launched right in. The Army tells me he did not deploy. He paused. The Army tells you. I explained that I had gotten his official records from the Army and National Guard. So did you go to Iraq? I was in Kuwait, he said. I told you that before. You told me you went to Kuwait and then you went to Iraq. Basically, it's very similar to the way it works, he said. Well, that's not how. No, Kuwait and Iraq are two different places. We talked for a while longer, and the story kept changing, but he did not back down. He wavered between blaming a military clerical error and saying that a military form he would send me would clear up the confusion once and for all. He still hasn't sent me the form or any other proof that he deployed, so essentially he has yet to prove that he deployed. All right. He also doesn't have any photos. He had already told me that he lost them all when his Facebook account was shut down, which, seeing his political beliefs, is not all that surprising. Many of his peers, Eli was already using an invented name. Eli Mosey was inspired by the British fascist leader Oswald Mosley. Nice. So why not make up a few autobiographical details? Jesus. Especially ones to boost his reputation. Well, if you're dealing with such people as these, it's not far-fetched. The movement itself also relies on falsehoods. It includes Holocaust deniers and pseudo-intellectuals who spout unsubstantiated theories about the science behind racial difference. In order to reach mainstream Americans, white supremacists have learned to cloak their racism in disorienting terms like white identity politics. No, that is literally what it is. It is the identity politics that the far left has used to push the narrative that blacks are oppressed, women are oppressed, gays are oppressed, etc. Name a minority or a quote-unquote marginalized group and it's oppressed. And they take all that and they just apply it to whites instead. It is identity politics, except the white form. At least have maintained some semblance of decency with that one. That is just fucking blatant stupidity. Deception is baked into the alt-right, so Eli Misley is a perfect match for the movement. In regards to unsubstantiated theories about science behind racial difference, there are substantiated theories. There is actually a difference in the average IQs, fucking average, between blacks, Hispanics, whites, Asians, and Jews, etc., especially the Hasidic kind. But there's also a difference in average IQs between men and women. So there you have it. All right, this went on longer than I expected. I just planned on reading the memo, but that was an interesting read. This is pretty funny here. Alt-right talking points includes all black people are stupid, all women are feminists, race and culture are the same, and genetics are the end-all be-all to behavior and IQ. Essentially, yes, that is the alt-right epitomified, right? Like in the epitome of the alt-right, that is right there. Also, anybody that isn't an alt-right is a fucking cook. That is just one of those terms that like they use it so much and it fucking just irritates the piss out of me. I was like, you guys are using it. You're using it unironically and you don't seem to know what it means. Like when I get called a cuck, it's like I don't even have a girlfriend. Technically, by literal definition, I can't be one. Anyway, in regards to IQ, like I said, it's an average. An average. You know, that thing that dictates the top of the bell curve versus, the ends. The ends being very different, usually. But in regards to culture, culture is not indicative of race. Race is not indicative of culture. You can look at Africa for this. There are certain parts of Africa that are far more cultured than other parts of Africa. Guess what a majority of Africa is? Africans. There are parts of Asia that are far more cultured than others. Guess what happens to be common in Asia? Asians. There are parts of Europe that are far more cultured than others. Europeans. But regardless, I'm not here to get into a discussion about quote-unquote race realism, as it were. I was just here to read the FISA Act, unfortunately. Somebody had to fucking inject me with cancer. I appreciate that, by the way, you fucking asshole. Anyway, that'll just about do it for this one. If you guys want to see more of this, just let me know. I enjoy these. These are pretty fun. But regardless, I will see all you glorious fucking cunts tomorrow for a Tuesday stream with my beautiful and far less annoying sounding co-host, Ray. And then on Wednesday, I will see you guys with another live stream with a former Warski live guest. And Thursday, I'll see you guys with a video, maybe, if I can manage to scrap one together with my busy fucking schedule. I don't know how the hell I get so fucking crazy. But regardless, I'll see all you glorious fucking cunts next time.